Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
Tonight from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., we'll have an open house at the fire station where the public can come in, meet local firefighters, tour the station, and learn more about the Phase 2 addition project.
So Phase 2, what are we adding?
Well, if you go back, we added a apparatus bay in 2015, which took care of some of the issues out on the apparatus floor with respect to health and safety. Mm-hmm. Phase 2 is really the admin side of the hall, but it also encompasses things like decontamination facilities for firefighters, living dormitories or living quarters for the work experience firefighters, and facilities for our female firefighters.
Right, yeah, something that doesn't exist right now.
No, right now we lacking a few facilities that would be common in a modern fire station.
Gotcha. And I remember it was a number of months ago that you were presenting. It was at City Hall, and I saw I guess it was the design look to it, and how how we're going to take when you've got what the ideas are for the open house and the changes and the additions and the benefits that you're going to get from this. And you compare it side by side to what's there right now, it's kind of startling, actually.
Well, if it makes sense, in essence, what we'd be doing is creating a dirty side of the fire station and a clean side of the fire station, so that we're not cross-contaminating, and our volunteer firefighters aren't taking those contaminants home. So the idea is to have, obviously, facilities for the decontamination, but we're also looking for space. We have 45 volunteer firefighters, and our training room right now has been taken over by the work experience firefighters as part of their living quarters. Uh-huh. And so we just don't have space to train anymore. And now that standards have changed, everything about the fire station has changed, or fire service has changed in the last number of years. The training requirements are much greater, and the need for space.
And space you have on the section of land that the fire station's on, so you definitely can expand for this. Let's talk about the contamination thing, because that really interests me. That currently, what do you have to do, and what will be improved?
Well, right now, the truth of the matter is we do have a gear washer, but our gear is actually being stored within the apparatus bays, and carcinogens are off-gassing from that gear all the time.
Right.
So it would be put into a sanitary gear room that would be negatively pressured and away from the typical workspace of the fire station. Mm-hmm. But it also would offer us places to actually wash equipment that might be contaminated with bloodborne pathogens or other contaminants. Because, as you know, structure fires, they emit, especially with all today's textiles and whatnot, emit just nasty compounds, let's just say, and we want to lessen the exposure to our firefighters.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, that the amount of exposure that you guys are getting, you guys and gals are getting on a day-to-day basis. And then you've had a really busy summer as well with preventing some relief for just wildfires too.
We have been all over the province this summer, in just almost in all corners, and we're hoping that we're going to be back to stay for the next little bit. Yeah. But touching back on the decontamination, with the risks of carcinogens and whatnot are highlighted in the firefighter occupational disease regulation, which identifies cancer presumption legislation for firefighters. So it is a serious issue. It's a real issue, and it doesn't matter what community you're from, firefighters all over are being subjected to different contaminants. So there's lots of things we're doing. We're actually changing some of the culture of how we do business, from washing, having policies and operational guidelines in place as to when firefighters have to clean their gear, and just trying to encourage them to live healthier lifestyles and ensure that they shower before they go home, and all those type of things to prevent that spread and reduce their risks.
So that's contamination and decontamination, one of the major issues that are going to be dealt with. And this open house, again, the open house tonight, and also there's a Saturday as well.
Yeah, Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Firefighters will be in the station again, greeting people who want to come in, learn a bit more about the fire station in general. They can tour and, of course, ask any questions they have with respect to the Phase 2 addition. They can see the plans and they can see our current conditions.
So it's going to be a big change. When was the fire hall built?
Well, the current fire station was built in 1972, 45 years ago, and with the exception of the apparatus bay, there's been no major renovation in all that time.
Don't tell somebody that was born in 1972 that they're 45 years old. A lot has changed.
A lot has changed, from everything from the size of our trucks, call volume, and even the size of our crew has roughly doubled in that time, and add to the new services that we've been providing or adding to our list over the years.
And one of the aspects is that in the past, and it's kind of just a general like a gender nomenclature, fireman, it's firefighter, because there's females also are firefighters, and it's not necessarily had been recognized in the past as living quarters, and that's a big change that needs to happen.
Yeah, it's a big change even in my 25 years within the department. Roughly 20% of our crew is female firefighters, or are female firefighters at this point. So those facilities were never built into the fire station itself in 1972.
That's boys club right then.
Well, I don't know if we'd call it a boys club even back then. That was just how it was, but times have changed.
Yeah, and so the changes, what will we see for the female firefighters?
Well, you'll be looking at change room, washroom, shower facilities, and in the case of our work experience program, dormitory would be having separate rooms so that we could actually accommodate a female candidate.
I think that people will see, they hear Jamie's the news headlines and the stories, and I mean when he's talking to you, but it's such a short little snippet, like you're only getting that information for under a minute. And so it's important to open up the doors and let the community come in.
That's right. I've when I go out in the community, whether I'm shopping in the grocery store or I'm stopped on the street type of thing, I do a lot of education with respect to this project, and it's kind of letting people know that this is in fact not a clubhouse, that it's a workplace, and that when we identify hazards and whatnot, we have to work towards mitigating those hazards. And of course, there's all the budgetary constraints and time constraints and whatnot, but we want to do our best, and I'm definitely an advocate for improving conditions for our firefighters. And ultimately, it'll improve the service we're able to provide the community,
and also attract others too, I would imagine.
Well, that's the thing in being public with respect to some of the risks of being a firefighter or a volunteer firefighter. It's sometimes harder to attract people who want to take on this role. But if they know that there are systems and processes in place to reduce risks, then I think volunteer firefighting is still a viable solution in our community.
Absolutely. Well, let's throw out those open house times again one more time there, Dave.
Sure. Tonight from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. and again Saturday, September 16th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Fire station, the halls are open for you to come down and check it out. Dave, thank you so much for joining me today.
I appreciate that.
It's Merritt Fire Rescue Department Chief Dave Tomkinson.